Hello everyone, welcome to the DraftCast, the place to get all your news about the draft events of the week. This week we've got the manager of Ajax Treesdown, George Keaney. Say hello, George.
Hello, thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. We're going to do our review of the previous game week, we'll do a review of George's team, and then we'll do our team of the week predictions. So let's start with the last game week. Not as much movement on the league table this week. Only a bit at the top, I think, which was pretty much expected to happen. But you've made some good inroads, catching up at the bottom there with the highest score of the week.
To be fair, I think before this week I was sort of 40 points off ninth place, which didn't look like a good place to be. So I needed a big week, and now looking at the league table, there's only 14 points between the bottom four teams. So it's definitely, over a congested festive period, chance to perhaps move up into lower mid-table. But
yeah, that's what we
trying
want
to
to
stay optimistic as possible.
Yeah, we want to see some movement at the bottom there. Not much else really to say. I mean, Adam had another not great week with 20, so he's got the lowest score of the week.
Yeah, I think the last few weeks, because we've had particularly sort of strong performance from Lawrence, James, yourself, and Jack at their own times. Like Rashford 14 odd points by the looks of it this week. That's a big week for Lawrence, and that just sort of makes that gap between the top four and the rest even bigger. It looks like there's going to be a bit of separation there. Yeah,
well, I mean, you just never know, do you?
Never know.
Anyone could have a crazy week, the way the season's been going. But yeah, it's playing out nicely, I think. I mean, we were all worried at the start when we were thinking, all right, let's get 10 people in. We were all worried that people were going to struggle to sort of score well. And I think so far we've shown that hasn't been the case. But it has actually it's made the competition a lot closer this year.
Yeah, I think obviously I'm a new member of the draft, and I was fairly wet behind the ears coming in. But I think certainly the lack of strikers this year has made it even more difficult, presumably, than it ever would have been before. And just to be fair, just looking down the league, I was going to say there's sort of not too many players outside the top four in people's teams that you think are going to have a massive week. But then I realised Adam's got Kane on his team, so you think that he's if he can string a few weeks of 8-9 points together, then Adam could shoot right back up as well.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say, actually, this is your third week of having the highest games week score.
I know, and how many game weeks have we had?
13.
13,
so it's not bad.
So
it's not bad.
No,
there's only one other person that's had 3, and that's Jim.
If anything, it just emphasises how poor a few of my weeks have been. But yeah, I think looking at my team, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players that got 7 points or more, and they're sort of players that might give you one of those performances once every 3 or 4 weeks, and they all just seem to have happened at the same time, which I guess looks particularly good this week, but most weeks maybe 1 or 2 of them will perform. Although saying that, I think Pulisic was probably my second highest pick that I've still got on the team, and he only had the 2 points, so there's definitely room for improvement there.
Yeah, and you've only had going back to your scores, you've only had 2 weeks with the lowest score. And there's a few people who have done. I mean, Will's done it the most. I mean, Lawrence has had a couple of weeks with the lowest score. Tolly's had a couple. So it's good that it's varied and that we're getting different people at the top and bottom each week.
Yeah, and I think that reflects well on our draft. In that, although some people obviously have done better than others, it's not the case that one particular team has been rock bottom. Well. He says in jest.
Yeah.
Well,
hopefully you won't stay there.
Exactly.
It'll make it more interesting if it keeps moving about.
Yeah.
So we'll go into team review now. And as you said, you've had a few players, quite a few players that scored 7 or more. Who do you think took you by surprise by scoring well this week?
Oh, good question. I'd say Bobby Firmino up top. Probably took me by surprise just as much because it was, I think they were the last game of the game week, weren't they? Liverpool Spurs. Or they were certainly one of the evening fixtures, and he scored right late on. So it was definitely a nice surprise at the end.
Yeah,
but
he hasn't been scoring highly, has he? Much.
No, not at all. And equally in big games, like against another top four side like Spurs, he generally plays that sort of defensive forward role, and sits in. So equally, for him to get a goal from a set piece from a header is not very common either. So that was good to see. And then, other than that, obviously, it's been a running joke that Aubameyang's as sort of the fourth, fifth pick in the draft has just not performed at all. It seems to have got his new contract and just gone missing.
Yeah. It's interesting that your three other Arsenal players didn't score at all, or didn't even play.
No, didn't even play. So Bellerin I think he was suspended.
Yeah.
And then, for Lacazette to still be sat on the bench when Eddie Nketiah gets brought on, it does appear like there's some issues in the dressing room at Arsenal. I did sort of finally pull the trigger on getting rid of Willian today. I think the defining moment was looking through his scores from the rest of the season, and I think he had maybe 40 odd points, but 14 of them were on the first week, and he's still not scored a goal, and he generally plays in a front three. So, yeah, it's easy to look at past results and take that as gospel, but it's just shown no signs of improvement. So, the trigger was pulled. But yeah, other than that, I generally pretty good game week. I took a bit of a risk on getting Benjamin Mendy in because. Yeah, City defenders are as much a lottery as anyone else. But yeah, hopefully he can pop up with the odd goal when City finally sort of return to what you'd expect from them, which is thrashing a few of the lower teams.
Yeah. So is there anybody there you think you're expecting to do well who didn't?
Yeah, Pulisic should be the main one, really. I think. Who were Chelsea playing? They've struggled the past few weeks. They got beat by Wolves, didn't they?
Yeah.
And they got beat by Everton the other week, which worries me as a West Ham fan because West Ham are playing Chelsea on Monday night. So, and obviously, Big Fat Frank's been taking abuse from West Ham fans since he was about 18. So I imagine he'll be desperate to get one over on West Ham.
I suppose it goes the other way around though as well. You guys would be wanting to get one on over them, seeing their results. So.
Yeah, definitely, especially because I think at the end of last season we might have got I think we beat them 3-2 thanks to a late Yarmolenko goal. But I remember watching that game and Pulisic was the man pulling the strings. So bit of a bittersweet one. I'll generally irrelevant of what goes on in the draft. We'll be happy if West Ham win, but if Pulisic scores 3 or 4, then at least it'll be some light relief.
Okay. I was gonna do the team of the week. Who you think who has scored the highest this week? I'm just looking at the fixtures, and I think there's quite a few. Well, from my perspective, I would say sort of evenly matched fixtures. So I don't see any team sort of going crazy this week. So I think that makes it harder to pick who's going to do well.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. Yeah, no, I think you're right. Just looking at the league table beforehand, and I think we'll come on to perhaps the player that I think is going to shine this week, but. Yeah, looking at the fixtures, it is difficult to pick anyone who's going to win comprehensively this week. I think you perhaps look at the disarray that Arsenal are in at the moment. I think Gabriel's injured, their best centre half, or suspended, so they're in a pretty poor state of affairs. And then if you look at I look at the weakest teams like your Fulhams, who are away at Newcastle, and Newcastle got thrashed by Leeds in the week and haven't got much of a record for hammering teams. So maybe Callum Wilson's an outside shot to score a few points.
Yeah.
And And then, yeah, like you say, fairly equal games. So Spurs, Leicester, United, Leeds. United don't look like thrashing teams, but they still seem to score 2 or 3 goals every week. So you wouldn't bet against Fernandes to pop up with some points as well. And then Burnley, Wolves. To be honest, any game that involves Burnley seems like it's going to be dull. Even when they do score or concede, it's just not an exciting game to watch. I think Burnley Villa this week for the 0-0 would have been one of the least watched games all year, I think. But I guess coming on to the person I think that's going to do particularly well this week, and that's probably going to affect the team, is Calvert-Lewin. I think is going to perhaps have a good game week, and he plays for Tolly's team, the Roasting Whipnuts, who've had a change of name.
Yes.
And yeah, I think Podence is in there, and they've got Fulham, and then Martial for United. You think, given how Leeds play against generally whoever it is that they're playing, they play on the break and pretty fast and loose. So United might start scrappy again and come up with a couple of goals towards the end. So I think Tolly's team might be shaping up to have a good week.
That's a good shout. Yeah, looking at his team, you could be right there. Yeah.
And then the other big score is your Sons and Kanes of home to Leicester, and Leicester. Brendan Rodgers generally sets them out relatively well organised, so I don't expect them to get thrashed. But then, yeah, it's quite an even game week. I think Southampton are a good match for City, which I don't know. City look like they're ready to thrash someone at some point, and it's just.
Well, I hope it's not Saints.
Predict. yeah, I hope so too, for your sake. But yeah, it's got to come at some time, you'd think. So who knows?
Yeah,
Maybe Mahrez as well will come on and get some points. But yeah, I think my team of the week prediction would probably be the Roasting Whipnuts, because of fancy Calvert-Lewin against an Arsenal team that are struggling, and especially without a centre midfielder and a centre half due to suspension. That would be my prediction. What about yourself? What do you think? I know you're the host and you're impartial, of course.
Well, I mean, I was looking at the form board, and it's got Son at the top in form.
Yeah.
But like you say, against Leicester, they might not be able to do as well. But you never know with him and Kane. They just play so well together.
Yeah.
Every time we get an update from one of their games, it's always either Kane scoring, Son assist, or the other way around.
Exactly. Yeah, it's inevitable that I did flirt with getting either Ndombele or Lucas Moura in for sort of the Christmas period, while there should be some rotation. But you think, like you say, whenever they score, it's inevitably Kane and Son are generally the ones involved. So
I'm probably going to say Son for my player. But I don't think that's going to put Lawrence. Looking at the rest of the team, I'm not sure. Based on the fixtures, I'm not sure that would be enough to give him highest of the week.
Yeah. Well, just looking at obviously Jack Tuck's top spot this week, and he has got Callum Wilson, so their home fixture against Fulham might work very much in his favour.
Yeah.
I think
I can't say Jack 2 weeks in a row, though, can I?
No, definitely not. His head would explode. I think.
Yeah. I might have to agree with you. Actually, I think I'll agree with you with the Roasting Whipnuts. Based on his last week, his front three did really well. I mean, if Calvert-Lewin goes off, he could be on for another big week. So
yeah, you never know.
No, it's been up and down this season. So, but you got to have a bit of fun in trying to predict something, haven't you?
Exactly. I did think, actually, this is going to add even one more level of geekiness to this conversation, but I did think Adam had a couple of good pickups today with his Villa players, having a few of them in the lineup, because they've got 2 games in hand on everyone. So even if I think Adam's got Grealish, McGinn, Cash, and having looked at Will and Adam have both had, I think, a rough few weeks. But again, Will has got Barkley and Watkins in his side as well. So if Barkley can get back for some of those double game weeks, then it's almost some 3 points there, which perhaps you
Do we know when those are gonna happen? Those double game weeks?
I don't actually off the top of my head. I assume they have been put in place, but let's just have a look. Can't seem to see. It doesn't look like it's going to be until sort of after January. Well, I think it's sort of mid-January, so there's a midweek game week where there's only 6 games, and then the following week there's sort of about 15 games. So yeah, come middle of January, the boys that have got a couple of Villa players in and the United and City players might be laughing.
Okay. Well, we'll have to see how it goes this week, I think. So I've got a stat of the week, and I don't think I've seen Adam put this in the group before. So I have to see what you make of it. But I've done it, and I've done an accepted and declined percentage of waivers. Right. So everybody puts loads of waivers through, and I've done it so who gets of the ones they put forward, who gets the most, the highest percentage of those getting accepted.
Okay. Yeah. I'm with you.
So at the top of that, we've got Will with 69% acceptance. But then again, he has only done 13 waivers over the total season.
Yeah, so maybe that's
9 accepted.
Maybe
I'm
that
not
says
sure
that,
his number really counts, but he'll probably disagree when he hears this. So then the next, we've got myself. I have a 53% acceptance rate. So that's 19 out of 36 total. Then we have Adam with 43. And then we have yourself with 40%.
Yeah, so, what are my total numbers in terms of waivers after?
You've put together a total of 40, and you've had 16 accepted out of that 40. Okay. 40% acceptance rate, which I think is pretty good. I mean, it's the top half of everybody else.
Yeah, on the face of it, it doesn't sound so bad, but I suppose when you consider that I've been bottom for, I don't know, the last 6-7 weeks, then I should get every one of my first picks each week in that case. But yeah, I am guilty, as I think was mentioned during the AGM. I am guilty of missing a Thursday deadline. So I've obviously cashed in when I've remembered to stick a few in there.
Yeah, the last couple have been like last minute, haven't they? Because these game weeks being so close together.
Yeah, although I think generally because I drafted fairly poorly, I had a look through my draft order before this call, and some of the names in there that were picked after some of my dismal picks do send a shiver down the spine. I'm thinking specifically of picking Firmino and Haller as 2 members of my front line. I think maybe even before Bamford got picked is one that will haunt me.
Yeah, I mean it's tough because you have to go off. You can only really go off the performance from the last season. You sort of go off that total points. You think, well, if they're going to do that again,
and I think
it's hard, isn't it? Because you don't know.
Yeah, I think when I picked a couple of those players, like Firmino is a good example. Everyone else on the call was like, "Oh, what have you done there?" And there's obviously a few names that crop up each year as being poor performers, or perhaps people that tease you into thinking they're going to be worthwhile.
So, who do you reckon then has the lowest acceptance percentage of their waivers?
Lowest? Oh, good question. I suppose it'd have to be someone who's been relatively near the top. So just run me through up to me again in that league table that you just...
So it was Will, me, Adam, and you.
Okay, then I'd say maybe Lawrence, as he's been fairly high up the league table, so he...
Okay, I can tell you Lawrence is 3rd from the bottom.
Oh, right,
with 30%.
Yeah. And then I would suggest it would perhaps be Jack and James then that were maybe the bottom 2.
Jack is he's 2 after you. James is 2nd from bottom with 27%. Jack was 32%.
So who does that leave us with? Rich, Tom, or Tolly?
Yeah. So who do you think out of those 3?
Probably Tolly.
I can tell you it's Tom with 26%. Because Tom has done double more waivers than anybody else. With 109. total waivers.
That is a lot.
And only 28 have been accepted. So he
So
has a really low acceptance. But then again, he's done a lot. So
it's probably a reasonable tactic if you're picking all the people in the waivers that you think are almost definitely going to be picked anyway, just in case one of them slips through. Certainly, I think that would be the case. That was probably the case as people were still getting signed at the start of the year. But yeah, there you go. Turn up for the Bugs. Good stat. Is that your first outing of this segment? Stat of the week.
That's the first stat of the week segment. Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to have to do for next week because I can't. It's not going to be unique every time. There's only so many stats I can come up with.
Yeah,
so maybe I'll have to get Adam on the line and get him to give me some good stats that he's not used yet.
I think you might want to get your guests to come with a segment. That might be the next.
That's a good
next
idea,
evolution.
Actually. That's a good idea. So we're coming to the end. Talking about guests for the next one, who do you think I should get on? Who do you think's got something to talk about to do with their team or with the league that would be good to have on next after this game week?
I think obviously I've not been involved in any real blockbuster trades. So I reckon.
Talking of trades, they had that. They were trying to sort that trade out today, weren't they? With
Lawrence. I didn't catch
I didn't
much
didn't follow it that much, but
was there any big names being moved?
I think Lawrence was trying to get rid of Rashford. That's all I really picked up from it, and I think he was getting the usual nonsense suggestions from the Oram brothers.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I reckon you need to get someone who's either traded for or traded a big name. So I think Sterling was traded early on. Was that between Jack and James? Maybe.
Yes, I think it might have been. Yeah.
So yeah, maybe Jack could be a good pick because he's been on the front line as trades were going down and big names have passed through his inbox. So that would be a good story to hear.
Yeah, maybe next time I could do a bit of a trade orientated segment.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Because I need someone on that's got a good insight into determining a good value for a trade because I
exactly.
Can't.
So I steer clear of the Oram brothers.
Yeah,
as you alluded to.
Yeah. Okay, well I think we'll wrap it up there.
Okay, I mean, one thing I did want to make sure we brought up was the general quality of performance at five-a-side this week as well.
Oh yeah, I thought it was good fun. I enjoyed it.
I thought it was fantastic. I think you never know when you obviously. I mean, it was the first time that I'd met quite a few of you as well, which was obviously emotional. But you just never know when you meet up with a new group of lads for playing five-a-side. You never know what the quality is going to be like, and it was a very hard-fought game. I mean, and obviously Tolly's good there for a laugh as well. So it's
I think it could have gone either way.
Fun.
I think it could have gone either way. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the next one. And,
likewise.
Maybe we can get more of the 10 of us. I mean, it would be really good if we get all 10 of us playing. That would be sick.
It would, Yeah, but otherwise, thank you for having me on the pod.
No, thanks for joining, George. And thanks for listening, everyone. And this is the DraftCast. Remember, draft is life. See you next time.